here for the latest. South side or the north side, not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams. Both sides got our own rings. On the mound or the long ball, but we don't put the wrong strings. Yeah. It's that time of the year now. Wrigley or guarantees for the whole league that we hear now. New show with a new mood. Discussions and interviews. Trade rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife.
Welcome to the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. My name is Aldo Soto. Alongside me is Kevin Fiddler. You can find me on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it now, at Aldo Soto 21. Follow Kevin at KFids. As always, the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast is brought to you by Sports Mockery. Visit sportsmockery.com. Download the Sports Mockery app on your smartphone device and turn on those notifications. Because guess what, Cubs fans? We already have off-season talk. Once again, the Cubs missed the playoffs, but we'll get into what went extremely wrong for this Cubs team. But once again, Pinwheels and Ivy podcast brought to you by Sports Mockery. Go on sportsmockery.com. We already have some off-season content going on there. Turn on notifications and check out all our stuff there. And then you can actually, maybe keep up with an exciting generational future star in Caleb Williams.
I thought you were going to say Brendan Davis. Oh, shoot.
Oh,
wait, never mind. Wrong rising star, wrong sport.
What a downer. I got to tell you, I took about an hour of notes for getting ready for this episode because we haven't been on in a couple weeks. Hand up, it's fine. But Brendan Davis, I wrote out like all the major injuries. He'd even make my list. That's how far down. Very sad.
South shit went.
That's yes. That did happen in September. Another bummer for the Cubs down the stretch. You can read about that sad situation on sportsmockery.com. All right, Kevin. Cubs 83 and 79. The last time we were on, they were they were in that middle of that very soft spot of their schedule. They were starting to make up ground. I think they were, 3-4 games back of Atlanta for that third wild card spot. And then what did I say on that show? Because I think they had just beaten the Pittsburgh Pirates on that Wednesday afternoon comeback. When the Pirates had Paul Skeens starting and the bullpen just gave it up, and the Cubs swept. No, they took 3 of 4 against the Washington Nationals. They went on the road. They won the first 2 games against the Dodgers. Then they lost the third one. Tough loss there. But hey, it's like Cubs are showing some fight, and they lose 2 of 3 of the Yankees, I believe. And then they go on the road. Or no, was it the road? Damn, that was so far. But the point is, they went to the Colorado Rockies. Crappy team. You should be able to win 2 of 3, if not sweep the team. They lose the first 2, and that pretty much was the season. And I think before that, they lost 2 of 3 to the Oakland A's, or that came after. And that week was basically, so much for the Cubs being a playoff team. They finished 6 games behind the Braves and Mets for that, the second and third spot. The Padres finished a few games ahead of them, a few games ahead of those NL East teams. And then the Cubs were 10 games back, tied with the Cardinals, 10 games back of the Milwaukee Brewers in the NL Central. Just, I guess, general thoughts here. We've had a couple days now. The season's ended. Team literally did not improve. 83 and 79, same record as last year.
Same record. Insane. You couldn't even try. Like, how many times does that happen at all? Like, where a team has the exact same record as the year before?
I know. I was excited. And it was almost a carbon copy of last year. And we talked about it during the summer. The first half, it's like the Cubs played great at the end of the year. I think I noted this on Monday or Tuesday. They ended the season 44 and 31, which is like a 95 win pace from like the 4th of July to the end of the season. Good stuff. Nice. However, they were 10 games or like 9 games below 500 for the first, 3 months of the season. For the second consecutive year, they just pooped the bed for 2 consecutive months.
Mhm.
This time it seemed like it lasted a little bit longer, but just back-to-back years, same thing, same issues. We'll get to that later. Bullpen was bad last year. The bullpen was bad this year to start the year. It got better, but it was a little too late.
It's a literal deja vu, all up and down.
The
All over.
offense, hey, guess what? The Cubs didn't have the true 1-2, or they didn't have the true superstar bat that they needed.
Mhm.
We were all banging on the table this offseason to get someone. We got
Yeah,
Cody
but
Bellinger.
at least we bid $200 million underneath the Shohei price to show that that the Cubs meant
A quick thing on Shohei Ohtani. I told my buddy that this the other day, right when like Ohtani was setting another record that we'd never heard of. A few years ago, John Smoltz said that Ohtani should consider just choosing one or the other. He should either be a hitter or be a pitcher. And I remember at the time, I'm like, dude, come on. We're seeing something that like we've never seen. Because unless you're Jimmy Carter, like probably didn't see Babe Ruth when he was pitching and hitting. But like, why would you want to stop this like just unicorn of a baseball player in Shohei Ohtani? But after the season that he had, just hitting with the Dodgers in 2024, maybe John Smoltz is right. Maybe Ohtani should just hit because he's just the best hitter on the planet. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Just what a stud. But back to the Cubs, who don't have Shohei Ohtani. Didn't have the star bat. Cody Bellinger came back, but he regressed sadly. Cubs made a somewhat wild trade at the deadline. Traded Morel for Isaac Paredes. That did not work out. We'll get to that later. A little worrisome. Just the same stuff. They're just stuck in the mud. I think what's so frustrating is that as I was writing out like the list of positives, there are so many positives that happened in
Absolutely.
2024, but it's just it gets weighted down with the crap that, again, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. These problems were known, they weren't addressed, and here we are again, another mediocre 83 win team that played exactly to what everyone thought they were going to be, like a mid-80s win team, just short of the playoffs.
Well, I mean, when you look at it too, like, again, it feels like we're just having the same discussion we had a year ago at this point too. I don't think, I think it's a different collapse for the Cubs. I mean, last year they collapsed pretty much. I mean, remember Dansby Swanson all of a sudden couldn't field a baseball and couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. Things were weird. This, I don't know if you want to call it, I mean, you can kind of call it a meltdown, to be honest, because when you look at it, they had such a favorable schedule and dropping games to the Rockies, the Athletics, the Pirates, teams that you should go out there and steamroll at this point, especially teams that have started to call up people to get extra looks that aren't playing at 100%, that have kind of tapped out already. And the Cubs played down to their level. And that's an unfortunate byproduct of what the season was. And, there's so many positives. There are so many, like you said, there are so many positives that we're still able to pull from this season, which is also a problem, I think, because it allows the front office to gaslight us and candy coat shit and then kick the can to next year again, where we're going to come back in. I'll be probably going to spring training again, going to go to Innings Fest. Maybe I'll break another signing like with the Cody Bellinger because at least it was not right. But whatever that is, it's going to be. It gives them a little bit more ammo. Like you almost wish that they kind of really fell apart badly, because now you say, we were over 500. Yeah, you were 4 games over 500. Awesome. 2 years in a row. You are 8 games over 500 in 2 years in a league where, what is it, 6 or 7? I always get it mixed up with football at this point. It feels like they keep changing the playoffs every year. So like whatever, 6 or 7 teams make the playoffs. What is it? 40% of the teams make the playoffs, and you can't be in the top 40, and it kind of sucks for us as Cub fans because again, we look at this, and if you really are, you've been on board the whole time, that when Theo Epstein took over for the Cubs in 2012, I think it was winter of 2012, right? 2012, 13, 14. No, 2011. Winter of 2011. There's offseason 2011. He inherited an absolutely broken franchise from top to bottom. Like there wasn't even really anything serviceable on the major league roster at that point. And in that 4th season under Theo Epstein, the Chicago Cubs went to the NLCS. Now we just finished the 4th season under Jed Hoyer. And expectations, is anybody Theo Epstein? No, probably not. But now we're saying we're 100% sure that Jed Hoyer is not that Theo Epstein. He actually had a favorable situation. He inherited a 2020 playoff team that he was able to try and sell for parts and pieces that should be theoretically 4 years later producing, well, 3.5 years later, I guess, producing, or I guess it's 3 in a couple months. I don't know. I'm rounding up. 3 years. We'll just call it 3 since everyone likes to, but it's 4 off seasons he's had to put the Cubs together a winning franchise, and he hasn't. So now we're actually looking at this with the comp. We like to use comps in sports so much. The comp is Theo got it in 4. Now you're 4 through, and you haven't sniffed the playoffs, let alone an NLCS. And now you start to question, decisions with the bullpen, things that, how many blown saves did we have, especially early in the season? Better roster management early on that can at least, stem the tide of those really bad, out of the gate moments in those first couple months. You've said it a billion times, Aldo. You can't win the season early on, but you can definitely lose your season early on. It matters just as much in April as it matters in June and July and August and now September. And those losses, how many blown saves do we have? The Cubs have this year.
26
blown saves. You cut that in half, and the Cubs are a postseason team. A half, right? And so you look at this, and you wonder how much of this has to do with
96 wins.
Yeah, there you go. And you look at the division, and you look at the coaching staff too. And this is something that I actually, I don't know who brought it up. Maybe it was Roman. But the fact that there wasn't much of a turnover, not a great amount of turnover from the previous coaching staff when Craig Counsell took over. And now we see it. Now fans are obviously fucking furious because they fired Mike Napoli. The Cubs are purging out their hitting coach. Who the fuck? I don't even know who that is at this point. We know Hottovy because Hottovy's done a good job. But let's
that one, the way it was reported, he was like an assistant hitting coach, Jim Aducci. He was like one of like 3 assistant hitting coaches.
Maybe 2 chefs in the kitchen. Too many chefs in the kitchen. But now you're going to get an offseason. Again, that Counsell couldn't take all his dudes with him from Milwaukee, right? And so as a result, he's having to kind of, and this is something that I had to deal with. I know it's not the same as Major League Baseball by any means, but when I took over my first head coaching job, I left Bonanza where I had been coaching for 12 years. So the people that I knew most, that I could trust the most, aren't leaving Bonanza. They're staying there. I had to leave and cleft myself from them. I couldn't bring my guys over because my guys were still honored and honoring their Bonanza commitment. So I had to hire a whole new coaching staff as well. And I was lucky. I had one buddy, Dustin Crespo, who's a fantastic hitting guy. I'll be able to bring him in. I had Harold Eckert. He's pitched for the Mets. He's a fucking legend here with the 51s. A phenomenal pitching coach my first year. Luckily, he was already there. So I took a guy that was already there, but he was also very well established. But then I had to start building out my own kind of coaching staff. And it's hard, man. And for someone like Counsell, especially at a high level, you don't know who you can trust. You don't know what guys are pulling from the same side of the rope as you are. And so you come in with these guys, and I'll be honest, maybe Napoli and Counsell were just water and oil, maybe it was, not peanut butter and ladies. And so perhaps some of these moves now the Cubs are going to get, I can give Craig Counsell some leeway on this. I can't give him leeway every time he pinch hits, Patrick Wisdom for Michael Busch. But I can give him leeway on the fact that he didn't have his guys there. Now if he doesn't bring in his own guys, he's had a whole year plus now at this point to figure it out, who he wants to do what and what guys fit well into this, that synergy within the Cubs clubhouse. Now it really is serious because if he brings in a coaching staff and now they start shitting it down their legs, hot seat gets hot fast because especially his payday. So, I'm going to give him some leeway, but this is such an interesting offseason in that sense because it is disappointing. I think that we're not talking about, we're watching the Mets playing a fucking postseason, and I fucking hate the Mets, and that pisses me off so fucking hard. Fuck Grimace and his fat little fucking purple body.
But there's no way you're rooting for the Brewers.
Absolutely not.
You are a Pat Murphy.
I'm actually rooting for a Hurricane Ditka to land on that stadium, and it be or everybody get busted for steroids or something, and they have to all forfeit. Something
double elimination. All right,
yeah,
that's fair.
Well, but it's painful to watch some of these teams. I thought the Cubs had a better. The Mets were fucking not great, and then they caught lightning in a bottle, and they found it. Cleveland, Detroit,
I was going to use
KC are in the postseason, and
I was going to use the example of the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers won like 80, 86, 87 games. They basically had the exact same season as the Cubs. they sold at the trade deadline. They traded Jack Flaherty, their second best starting pitcher, to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who I think is going to start game 1 for the Dodgers, by the way.
Crazy.
Imagine if the Tigers didn't even need him. They just swept the Astros like nothing, kept that offense in check in Houston. But the main difference was I was looking back at the schedule. The Cubs had in September back-to-back series. Colorado lose 2 of 3 on the road. Just unacceptable. They come back home. They lose 2 of 3 to the Oakland A's, who again, they're not Chicago White Sox bad, but that's still a bad team. Those 2 series right there, the Tigers basically flipped that around. They faced those 2 teams late in the year as well, won those series, and guess who was in the playoffs?
That's crazy too. We talk about common denominators though, and we know what happened with the Tigers. It's the same thing that happened to the Mets.
They got rid of their worst player.
Yeah, so in 2021, remember the Cubs traded Javi Baez to the Mets for Pete Crow Armstrong. The Mets were a playoff team. They were rocking and rolling. I think they might have even been in first place in the East. I'm not sure, but they were looking good. They were adding, and then Javi goes over to the Mets, and then they shit it down their leg, and they actually don't even make the postseason. Now we go to the Tigers. Basically, the day they put Javi on injured reserve for the IL for the rest of the season, the Tigers literally go on this run and make the postseason.
No, like literally, I remember
not a good look for Javi.
We were talking about the, on this podcast, we talked about the downfall of Tim Anderson and how he was like one of the worst hitters in baseball. Once Tim Anderson went away this year, once the Marlins dumped him, Javier Baez took that mantle. He's like, now I am the worst hitter. Not worst hitter, like worst baseball player in baseball. Well,
what happens when
he still was actually good defensively with the Tigers, but man, the hitting, he was hitting like a pitcher. Before I do want to get into the specifics of the 2024 Cubs, but you brought up Counsell. I do want to ask you. So there's the coaching new staff or the coaching changes that are going to happen. People were freaking out. I know Napoli was like popular guy, probably great clubhouse guy. Every fan who seemed to interact with him seems like, oh, great dude. Had some crazy times with the Boston Red Sox. Like we said, like anytime there's a manager change, they're gonna bring their own guys. Like that wasn't a huge, like, oh, there's a rift in the clubhouse between Counsell and Napoli, or like the bullpen coach, Darren Holmes. Well, why isn't anyone coming out defending Darren Holmes? But
what the heck?
The bigger point I want to make is, what did you make of the late season talk of Craig Counsell being more involved with the front office and those decisions?
I mean, for me, I'm still not sure that Pat Murphy hasn't been the reason that Counsell has been a great manager in the first place, at least the perception of it. So I'm not.
I just want to say, Pat, if Craig Counsell pulled Shota Imanaga after 4 innings in Game 1 of the playoffs, I'd be very upset, and that's exactly what Pat Murphy did.
He gets you there over the long haul, I guess, because apparently nothing changes in Milwaukee.
I don't know. Yeah, the Milwaukee Brewers are just. I don't know.
But
I am hate watching the Milwaukee Brewers lose to the Mets. I know we all hate the Mets. I don't have the same hatred that you do, Kevin, for the Mets. I get the history.
It's generational. It's a generation.
Yeah, but like R.I.P. Ron Santo. Got whatever I hate I have for the Mets is directly from hearing him talking about the Mets, but I will always root against the Brewers. But Craig Counsell,
with him,
maybe
his input,
a bigger voice in the front office.
He knows what he needs. Because again, if you're going to, I mean, this is a problem for Jed, I think, more than anything else, because Jed's Mr. Dr. Ego here, who likes to play the game. He likes to be, Gordon Gekko out there. You got a manager kind of dabbling in. In his world, that's like, no. I'll tell you your lineup. I'll tell you your roster, and you will make do with what you have. And I don't know. And I think that maybe it's not overblown. Maybe Jed was like, fuck, help. Help me.
I mean,
I don't know. But I do know
they're basically paying Craig Counsell like as another executive. He's getting $8 million a year.
A manager should have to say, look, if you could show to a manager, look, this is why the analytics say we should have this guy, and you can prove that point, that's great. But if a manager's like, dude, I need this guy in my clubhouse, you get that guy, because he's not talking about analytics. He's talking about the human experience. If he wants a certain player in his clubhouse for other reasons outside of statistical performance, you get that guy. You give him one at least, right? And I don't know if Council got one of his dudes yet, but you do need to have a couple players here and there that you pepper in that are your guys, Council guys, that can bring and help explain. It's just like with any system. They can explain the system and maybe interpret sometimes what Craig Council might be saying. Look, we don't know the communication divide between some of these guys. Everyone has a different lingo, a different cadence, a different way to approach things, and even messaging is different. There are some coaches that are absolutely fantastic baseball minds, and their delivery sucks ass, and they lose their clubhouse because they don't know how to deliver the message properly. That's where you have guys that actually know the system that can help be like the translators, if you will, for your manager or your head coach or whoever's delivering this message. I like the idea of him though being able to have some input. I don't know if Jed's going to play ball. No, to be honest, Jed seems like the guy that would have a bigger problem with his manager, dabbling into the roster management stuff because I think it's Jed's out there playing fantasy baseball. He's playing the rush of the deal and the rush of the negotiations. If Council word gets out that Council really wants someone, it might ruin his ability to maybe get the most out of his deal with whoever he's negotiating with. Maybe he can own Scott Boras.
Well, that could be. We all know they're kind of buddy, but the main and I think his name has already been linked with the Cubs is starting pitcher Corbin Burns, who was with the Brewers, Council guy. I think Corbin Burns has gone on. I think it was the Foul Territory podcast, the AJ Pierzynski one, or on their network. I think he's had some like high praise of Council, like following the trade when he was traded to the Orioles, and then when the Cubs hired Council, he's like, no, that's the dude I talk to when I'm down.
Always a good.
But yeah, so that's going to be interesting to see what influence Council does have, if any. Or I hope so. It seems like a smart dude.
Extend Patrick Wisdom. I need a pinch hitter for Michael Busch in the 6th inning every time a left-hander is on the bump, even though the statistics show that Michael Busch is a better left-handed hitter against left-handed pitchers than Patrick Wisdom is in life.
All right, so let's switch it up. Let's get to something positive here.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, again, you would think, mediocrity, there's nothing positive. There's a lot of positives. In no particular order, but I do want to start off with this. I do think this is one of the best things that happened this year. Pete Crow Armstrong came up, full rookie season. It turns out that his hit list September in 2023 didn't mean that he was never going to hit major league hitting or major league pitching. He did struggle at first, so that there was a couple weeks there during the summer, couple months maybe, where you're maybe starting to get rid of. I think we had the conversation around the All-Star break. It's like, why are people being like, oh, PCA is only a defensive specialist? It's like, no. But hey, it turns out that the 21-year-old kid, rookie center fielder, figured it out because from July 27th through the end of the season, he had a 123 WRC plus. He hit 289. He had a 336 on base. He slugged 469. Overall this season, he had 27 stolen bases. I think he was caught only 3 times. I think 1 or 2 of those were pickoffs. So, maybe only 1 or 2 were actual caught stealing a base. And then at least for the Cubs, I don't know around the league, but Pete Crow Armstrong has been the number one guy who has lived up to his defensive hype. He had 14 outs above average, which was 4th overall in Major League Baseball. That's among like every single position player, and he didn't play the whole year. He came up like in May, so that was great to see. Again, he showed off 2 elite skills that and that's what when we do shows here in the off season, I always want guys that are great at whatever it is they do. Be great at it. Don't be okay. I want elite skill sets here. And he showed at least 2, and then the hitting came around. So bang, even better. Elite defense, elite base running, and then he actually started to hit. What do you got on PCA?
Here's the kicker, man. He had a .2 WAR better than Cody Bellinger. So you have a guy at one point making $27.5 million with a 2.2 WAR overall, and you have a guy making $740,000 a year with a 2.4 overall. In fact, a 2.8 for Michael Busch as well. 1, 2. I mean, you got Dansby had a high WAR. His defense takes you there. Ian Happ 3.9 WAR. Nico a 3.7 WAR. A lot of that's defensive based, except for Sayers, who got a 3.5 WAR basically because of his offense is actually fantastic. Shota 3.1 WAR, obviously a pitcher. But then you jump down to Bush, Armstrong, and Bellinger, and those three are kind of tied together. You got a 2.8 for Bush, a 2.4 for Pete Crow Armstrong, and then Belly's got a 2.2. I actually thought that Bush's WAR would be higher because his defense was actually really good, and his offense was really.
First baseman get dinged.
Yeah,
it's just how it's so hard.
Cody, I guess, playing there too a little bit, rotating around and whatever.
It's so hard for first baseman to get that WAR up. Like they have to be truly top 10 hitters to think about. I mean, Anthony Rizzo, we saw it for several years here. I don't think he ever got above 5 WAR. And he was hitting 30 home runs a year, driving in 100 runs, just WRC plus in the 140s. And he was playing Gold Glove defense, but it was still, 4.8, 4.9 at 4 seasons.
And you look at Morel, I mean, you look at PCA, and he ended up finishing with an 88 OPS plus. He actually, we remember when he first came up, people were like, well, fuck, this guy, you remember it was almost like this weird revisionist history gaslighting that some of the big Cub accounts were kind of using. Well, if you thought PCA was going to be an elite hitter, what were you thinking? It's always been just an average hitter with really great defense. And it was kind of like, no, that was not sold to us. It's always been sold that he can do it with the bat. And then they pulled well, he's going to be out there every day. We want him to play defense and be a great base runner. So you're going to play every day, Pete. Go out and have some fun, man. It's play ball, not work ball. Go do it. And all of a sudden, it's like you saw him go out there and he let go. And he just started being Pete Crow Armstrong, not trying to be anything else, not being a rookie, not being this and that. He just started playing his game because he didn't have to worry about, well, am I going to get sent back down to this bullshit? I don't want to go back to Iowa, man. Nobody likes to get sent back down. It just sucks. You just got to travel. You got to repack. All you got nice and settled. Instead, he just got to go every day to work knowing he was going to be out there in the lineup pretty much almost every day. And that really made a difference. And I think I can applaud Craig Counsell for that as well, because you got to see him take those major steps forward, offensively, especially. Defensively, he's made some of the best plays I've seen a Cubs outfielder make in my lifetime, period. Period. At the same time, you started to see that bat show up, and he had some incredible games. And what was the inside park home run? No, the fact that he put, it wasn't an if when he got on base, it was a when. And so that was the beautiful part about having a PCA out there and seeing him grow. That's what Cub fans, unfortunately it sucks. In a rebuilding season, those are things you really love to see, because that's why you're rebuilding. You let those guys go out there, take their lumps, and then just get their feet under them. Unfortunately, the Cubs were in a playoff race, and so some of that might have hurt the Cubs a little bit early on. But he actually, you got a chance to see him show that growth. You got to see Michael Bush do the same thing in a lot of ways, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of progress. But the PCA stuff gets me so excited because he does so much away from the baseball that even before he was hitting, his defense, his base running, his ability to get the ball down on a bunt. I'm sorry, dude. I love the fact. I know some people hate bunts. He bunts well. He's not someone that you'd say, put that back in your Swiss Army knife, bro. We don't need it. That dude can drop a bunt down at any point, which makes him more effective as a hitter because it draws in the corners, makes dudes move out of position, and a hard ground ball, a couple steps to the left, all of a sudden get through, as opposed to maybe them getting a couple steps because they're deeper, fielding the baseball, plus his speed. So it makes everything more difficult. He speeds up the game on the pitcher. He speeds up the game on the defense. He speeds up the game on the catcher. He makes everybody, he creates havoc. And those guys, Javi created havoc in a lot of ways. His was more uncontrolled. Pete Crow Armstrong is a controlled chaos, and I fucking love watching the dude work. Those are things that I like that make me happy about Pete Crow Armstrong. And now his struggles early on, it's going to happen, man. He's still, 22, 23? He's got a bad haircut.
21.
His picture still has blue hair on the Cub site, but that's fine. We got Caleb Williams. We got him. I don't give a shit what your hair color is. I don't care what your fingernail. Get the job done, bro. Get it done. Do it. Awesome. And so he did that. Michael Bush, on the other hand, he did not dye his hair blue, but his heart is blue.
Well, I don't think Michael Bush wants us to bring up his hair. But yeah, no, PCA 22 this year. Slow start and then just turned it around. And we just saw his 4. Because like you said, he had he finished the year at 88 OPS plus. Still below average hitter, but with his entire skill set was still worth more than two WAR there. And if he can just get that bat semi consistently, you're talking about an all-star level center fielder right there.
If you can get his on base percentage up to like a 330, 340 range, look out. Uh-oh. You there? I think all those microphones.
And my mic went out.
There you go. You probably just said the most profound point ever, and I was trying to read your lips. And if you guys have ever seen Boy Kills World, I felt like Boy Kills World when he was trying to read the lips of the buddy of the guy that was kind of taking him in, and he can't read it, and he's a deaf mute, and the guy's like slippy butter bop. Beepity boppity boop, bop 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 pee poop. Son, I gotta eat a rubber neck up. And you're like, what? What did he just say? Because he can't read his lips, so all he's seeing is like, and a dampy dog up in the hills with the dinksy dongs, dinky bong. And then you're like,
I just told everyone what to bet PCA MVP. Now we don't know that year. We're never gonna know. And when it happens, I'll be like, I told you guys.
who would
Other
recommend them?
positives.
Boy Kills World. Great movie.
Other positives here. I want to highlight these other seasons. Ian Happ, like you said, 3.6 F4. He led the team with 25 home runs. Kind of a low total. We'll get to that later on the negatives.
Were people calling for him to be traded early on this?
Oh, okay. Let's get to that. It's both of these guys. Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, the two best hitters on the team, who have been the two best hitters on the team for multiple years. Cubs fans are obsessed with trading them. Number one, they can't. They have no trade clauses. So, like, I'm glad that that's not even a consideration because, like, they have no trade clause. So, like, it's not even worth discussing because that possibility just gets killed every time. But the obsession that some fans like, they're like, oh, like I responded to a guy on Wednesday, and he's because I was talking about another positive. Nico Horner, slow start, played through a couple injuries, and then he finished the year off fantastic. Played much better defense the last 4 months of the season. And my point was, I don't think the Cubs are going to trade Nico Horner. I know they're trying to figure out how to open up space for the prospects, mainly Matt Shaw. Again, I pointed out, guys, there's plenty of at bats, plenty of positions that he can play. The DH spot is there. Matt Shaw, if he's good, he's going to get his at bats. Don't worry. You don't just have to trade guys away. But some guy goes, oh, well, yeah, you can thank the Cubs, not playing Matt Shaw because of the no trade clauses to Happ and Suzuki. It's like, oh, well, yeah, what a bummer. The Cubs are stuck with two good hitters. Seiya Suzuki, I wanted to point this out. Seiya Suzuki, 138 WRC plus, 7th best hitter in the National League in 2024. What a bummer that the Cubs have that on the team.
Twitter tells me that he sucks and he should be traded.
What a bummer, man.
Like him and rah.
Ian Happ, I know. Hey, Ian Happ again, another guy. Someone's trying to mute me over here again about unmuted.
I did it.
Ian Happ.
Aldo.
Had like a hamstring issue from strength training. I think he dealt with that in April, but I mean he was just so damn good almost from like May on. And again, if he found his power stroke again, 25 home runs, new career high for him. Led the team. Stop trying to trade Ian Happ and Seiya Suzuki. They're two best hitters. Stop, Cubs fans.
Please.
Yeah, again, Nico Horner, 3.9 F4, like you pointed out. 10. He had 10 outs above average. That was number 4 among second basemen this year. Dansby Swanson, another 4 F4 season. Again, a lot of defense for that. But hey, the Cubs, Dansby Swanson is doing exactly what we thought Dansby Swanson was going to do. League average hitter. I think this year was a 99 WRC plus, but he was the number 1 defensive shortstop once again. Hey, he's living up to what we thought. And like you said, Michael Busch, 2.3 F4. He had a 119 WRC plus. That was 7th best among all qualifying first basemen. So a good season for him. 26 years old. First full year actually getting regular playing time this year with the Cubs. Any other thoughts on those guys? What do you think about the talk of? Well, we just said Ian Happ, Seiya Suzuki, stop trying to trade them. What do you think about the talk of, hey, if you're trying to improve, trying to get more slug in the lineup, what if you use Nico Horner in a trade?
I'm not a fan of it. I'd rather just trade Paradas again. He has no trade clause too. I think you've got a better shot of moving Shaw to third, still improving some of that slug. But what Nico brings to the table is very similar, like PCA. Nico is a Swiss Army knife. Nico might not give you that power, but you don't want all 9 players in your lineup to be the same fucking person. We learned that from the Cubs core. They had basically the exact same hitter 1 through 9, and you need to pepper in 3 of the, 33% of that lineup should be guys that can handle the stick like an expert. Like they should be ninjas basically with the bat and with the base running and the ways to create havoc. And Nico Horner plays defense. He's probably, I'd say, the best second baseman in baseball defensively. I don't know if the numbers back that up, but I'm just going to be biased as fuck about it. And you've got a guy that can put the bat on the ball. You got a guy that steals bases. He runs the bases extremely well. He's responsible. He's a clubhouse guy. He's a leader. Paradas, he's a one-trick pony. He's a left side guy. You got Rico Horner, who's a gap-to-gap guy. Honestly, you're going to get more value out of Nico Horner. So, I mean, honestly, if you're talking about trading somebody, and you might need to, unless you believe that Matt Shaw's ready. If Matt Shaw's not ready, if you don't believe in the Matt Shaw, then you're not trading anybody. But if you believe in the Matt Shaw, and he's the Matt Shaw now, not just Matt Shaw, he's the Matt Shaw, because he's that elevated now in my mind, because he's turning into like the Incredible Hulk in my imagination. Is that's the guy you look at, because that guy is a less multifaceted ball player, even with his approach at the plate, let alone everything else he does. He's a minus base runner. He's an average to below average defender. He's better than Morel, but he's, that's like being the tallest midget, or little person, excuse me. And that is the whole point of this, is that you want a guy that can do more than just one facet or one part of one facet. I mean, and Paredes has that trade clause. I wouldn't be shocked to see if the Cubs move him. Maybe not at the beginning of the season, but perhaps maybe when they feel Shaw is ready, they could probably package him out and get something in return for it. You just want to get back what you lost, or at least somewhat recoup the loss. You didn't lose anything with Morel, I don't think, other than excitement. And you did lose a guy that actually was pretty good for the Devil Rays down the stretch on the bump. That's the actual one that hurts the most in that trade. So with Nico, I don't want to trade Nico. No, obviously, if something comes up, if it involves, maybe getting, I don't know, Vlad Guerrero, maybe. But I'm not going to trade. I don't even know if I'm trading Nico Horner for Bo Bichette. I don't know who I'm trading Nico for.
I think that's the. I think that's
Nico for teenagers. For fuck's sake, no, not happening.
Oh yeah,
it better be part of a package deal that brings in a superstar.
Right. If the Cubs are going to trade Nico Horner, because they're getting MLB talent back and a good one. Because again, despite Nico Horner not being what everyone wants him to turn into at the plate, he's still a 4-WAR player, great speed, great defense, can hit.
He was never all that other stuff though. There was nothing in his game at Stanford that ever said Nico Horner is going to be a power guy one day. No, he's always going to be a gap-to-gap guy that walks into about 10 balls a year that might leave the yard, somewhere around there, and he's going to hit gap-to-gap. He's going to hit a couple triples. He's going to steal some bases. He's going to play incredible defense.
He's like I said, gap-to-gap, line drive hitter, fast, gold glove defense.
He's not going to be like a Bo Bichette. He's not going to be that guy. He's just a different kind of Swiss Army knife. He's a different weapon, but still effective.
So, like, let's say, okay, let's just play this hypothetical out. And I'm sure we'll do this a lot during the offseason.
Long offseason.
But let's say the Blue Jays are like, hey, we know we are not going to get a long-term deal done with Vladdy Jr. We're going to trade him because the Blue Jays, they're a mess. I have no idea what direction they're going to take. The Cubs give him a call. It's like, hey.
See, here, is Seiya a DH next year?
Nico Horner, a couple other pieces for Vlad.
Is Seiya a DH next year? And is Owen Casey going to be out in right field? Because you can't go get Vlad. I know we talked about it a bunch. You can't go get Vlad if Seiya is your DH, because Vlad's going to have to DH a ton. I mean, and Michael Busch over at first has proven himself to be extremely valuable as well. I don't ever believe in the idea of, you can load up as much talent as possible, but you got to put them somewhere. And if Vlad can play third, I guess, well, fuck, let's go. Or Michael Busch can move back over to third. I don't know. There are ways to work around this, but you got Shaw coming through. So I don't know if Vlad's the superstar now. I don't know. Honestly, to me, a superstar get would be, I don't know, maybe trading Owen Casey and another arm to the White Sox to get a Luis Robert at a lower value because everyone's kind of pissed at Luis Robert, and throw Luis Robert in right field. And now all of a sudden you've got something to maybe that's the kind of, I'm not saying just Luis Robert, but a player like Luis Robert right now, a younger superstar caliber player that, especially if you can buy low, but that's out there on a team that's willing to sell. And I think the White Sox could be willing to sell, but I don't know. I don't even know what his real value is.
I was gonna say I have no idea what Luis Robert Jr.
He's bored.
I'm
sorry.
He's bored. I hope so, man.
Fucking
because
bored.
Holy shit, was he bad?
Look, it's one thing to ask a guy to be pretty good when your team's not great. It's another thing to ask a dude to play and keep his shit together, especially a younger dude that's always excelled, to keep his shit together for historically bad baseball the way the White Sox were bad. I'm sorry. Everybody that leaves that White Sox team this offseason is going to probably have a 20% increase in productivity. That was horrible. I mean, you can't going to work every day. Imagine going to work every day knowing that you actually work from a fucking like a shitter in the bathroom, knowing that there's a guy that comes in every day with gastrointestinal issues and drops major cable while you're trying to work there at the sink on your laptop. Are you going to go in there every day, Chipper? Absolutely fucking not. Are you going to make some typos? Absolutely will. And I think that Luis Robert was so unchallenged. He's like that smart kid in class that you keep giving worksheets to. When that kid wants to go solve quadratic equations somehow out here on the board, like he's fucking Matt Damon at MIT. And that's where he's at, I think. I don't know.
I don't know if this makes sense because again, the White Sox are a long ways from competing. They need to just keep bringing up as much young talent. So I don't think necessarily Nico Horner, because I think he has 2 years left on his contract, 25, 26. But in a different direction, what if it's not Luis Robert Jr., but in my mind, I've said this in a couple replies on Twitter. I truly think, and it goes back to the Dansby Swanson, the shortstop class, that free agency class. And we've seen what the big money moves have been. It's been pitching. It's been starting pitching. I truly believe that the identity that this front office wants to build is we want to have strong, dependable pitching, good defense. That's how we win games. We can argue whether that's the good route or not or whatever. But I think
it's great for high school baseball. I love pitching and defense in high school baseball. But when you're dealing with elite athletes,
it seems that that's the route that they're going to. And again, early rumors are like, hey, they're going to target starting pitching again, which, hey,
I thought the farm system had so many great arms. Tell me about Killian. Tell me about Wes Nasty.
We will get to that later. That is another negative.
Is our big guy? Where's the big guy? Where's the big guy at? Is he healthy?
I'm struggling.
Horton.
What if Nico Horner gets in a trade package for Garrett Crochet?
You got me there.
Would you entertain that?
I would absolutely entertain that. Absolutely entertain that. I would drool at that one. Actually, Crochet is going to be wherever he goes, whoever gets him is going to literally have to put up roughly 2 runs per start if you have a quality bullpen, and that dude's going to win you ball games. That guy's going to get you. He'll have his hiccups. He's going to have command issues. The guy, and he's going to have days where he's going to have to sit out a start or two because he's going to have a sore back. He's going, because it is a violent delivery with his velocity. But God, yes, I think he proved this year. And again, knowing what Tanner McDougal's told me about we've been talking. I told you guys this was coming. I didn't. Tanner told me, and I passed on Tanner. Like Tanner said, just you wait. I mean, he was incredible, and he said that everything that they did in that rehab stuff always. I mean, Tanner had a pretty good finish too, by the way. And we'll talk about that some other time. But that's a guy I would love to have Garrett Crochet. I would absolutely. You put that guy. That's
Nico Horner, Owen Casey for Garrett Crochet.
I could take that.
Maybe like another arm down in AA single.
I could take that. That one I'm okay. You know what? I'm actually okay if Nico's traded to the White Sox at all. As long as he's in Chicago.
He's in Chicago. You don't have to uproot his family.
Yeah, and I can still root for him, so I'm good with that. Like, yeah.
Well, speaking of pitching, you mentioned Shota Minaga, great rookie season. Technically a rookie, but veteran in Japan, 29 starts. He was the Cubs did great. We talked about it back in spring training how they were going to handle him because in Japan starting pitchers they just pitch once a week. And we have seen in previous years with other Japanese pitchers, they get handled a little differently in their first year, maybe first couple years in MLB with more games during the 6-month schedule. But he made 29 starts, 173 innings pitched, led the team in innings pitched. He had a 15-3 record, 2.91 ERA. That was the 5th best ERA in Major League Baseball, 3rd in the National League. 174 strikeouts, 28 walks. Love to see that ratio. And you can get away with giving up 27 home runs because he wasn't giving up a lot of base runners, not a lot of walks, not a lot of hits. I just went over his record again. Win-loss record for a starting pitcher doesn't mean everything these days. Doesn't mean as much as it did back in the day. But I can really only remember a few times where he had a bad start. I think it was that Friday game against the Mets where he gave up 10 runs, gave up all those home runs. That was a rough one. And then the Brewers start in Milwaukee, I think. He had a shorter outing there. Those are the two only brutal ones that I remember from Shota all year long. Other than that, he was giving you quality start after quality start, going deep into games. Fantastic season. Feathering Jed's cap for that signing after year one. And I think that Shota, I was high on the signing, but I didn't expect this. Kevin, I think you were a little more bullish on how good Shota was going to be this year.
Well, I had him rookie of the year, right?
Shota. Yeah,
I had him rookie of the year and strikeout leader. I thought he was going to lead in strikeouts and be the rookie of the year. Obviously, it's going to go to Pirates guy because he's been the hype guy. Yeah. But if you eliminate him from the equation, Shota's going to get some votes. Again, the two things that I'm going to look at with I'm always really critical of Jed Hoyer, and I have my personal reasons for all that, but I still can look at incredible, well done. And the fact is they got Shota and everyone was all drooling about, what's his name? Was it Yoshinobu
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto. I just want to make sure I didn't, it feels like I was the right name, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't screw it up. Yeah. But everyone was talking about him. And the Dodgers landed him. He actually, he's been okay this year. He's been hurt, though. He hasn't really done well. But Shota came in, and Shota has had, God forbid I go to the game that he, carves. Instead, I go to the worst game that he pitched all year, which is when he got lit by the Mets.
Yeah.
It's terrible. He couldn't get out. It was so hot, too. And all I could say out in the bleachers was I don't know if he's getting enough, enough rosin or whatever, but he was leaving everything up, and it looked like he just couldn't get a grip on the ball. And everybody I was sweating like a whore in church. Literally, we were everybody in the bleachers were like two rats fucking in a wool sock. It was just, right? And of course, we got shirtless, Chigo guys. We got Cody, Cody's right next to me. My tie guy. Everyone's sweaty, and we'd been at the Cubby Bear or not Cubby Bear, over at Murphy's. Nobody went to Cubby Bear actually, until later. And then we went to Al's. But all this stuff, and that's Shota his worst start was that he could not. You just could see that he could not get a feel for anything, and that was probably his first Midwestern heater, if you want to call it that. So, but that one really fucked his shit. That was 8 earned runs or whatever. You take those 8 earned runs that one start out, and you put his numbers against any pitcher in baseball, and he's a Cy Young finalist at least. And now I think that he's done really well. I love what he does. I love his personality too. He's really interesting. He's really tried to embrace the Chicago stuff. He's just being a salesman, if you will. I hope his endorsement deals go up all offseason. He should be peppered on every billboard in Chicago, to be honest. He's the most marketable dude, I think, on that squad right now, unless you're doing a dispensary and you need Cody Bellinger. But the best part about Shota too is the fact that he is hard on himself, but not hard on himself where he makes it a problem. He knows when he fucks up and he wears it. His post-game interviews, whether his translator is a genius or not, I'm not sure. I don't know what he's actually saying, but if his translator is truthfully saying what he's saying, his responses are absolutely fantastic. It's an accountability thing. He holds himself to a higher standard, and when he doesn't get it done, he can look himself in the mirror and say, these are the things I didn't do, and next time I'm going to grow and learn and not do it again. And you have seen him, again, the league figures you out, and then you got to reinvent, and he has done that over and over and over again this year. And the Michael Busch sign, the trade for Michael Busch was fantastic as well. Although I'm going to miss a big lefty.
Jackson Ferris is going to haunt us.
Be so good. Yeah. And
Unless
I'm
he gets
going
hurt, because I think every single like Dodgers pitcher just has to mandatory get hurt.
apparently, you got to get you got to get a Tommy John or shoulder, something, some rotator cuff, something. It's they. You know what they do? They do like with Tanner. They'll be like, "Oh, we did an MRI and it's a little degraded right now. It's fine. You got like 5 years before we're gonna go ahead and snip that and start over again." And like, okay, you're hurt now again. Because that's what Tanner was. I mean, Tanner's wasn't like torn. It was like, you got a problem. Let's nip it now early in your career so it's not a problem later in your career. And that's what they were doing. The surgery is so common now. But anyway, Shota was it was so good to watch that guy work. I'm super happy about that. That's the one. I mean, I'm stoked to watch him next year, but I'm also stoked to watch him this offseason because he is going to be the dude at the Cubs convention. He's the dude. He is the funnest. He's fun, man. He's fun. Like he is.
I was gonna say, he's fun. The emotion, like the pad, like you said, he wears every emotion on his sleeve. You know, when he's down, when he gets a big strikeout, he gets in the moment. I know we've had great pitchers, you know, that we've seen over the years, this past decade. You know, Arrieta and his run in 2015, 2016. You know, we've seen Kyle Hendricks destroy everyone on that. You know, John Lester, the Bulldog, his run with the Cubs, but Shota, he didn't have like the meltdowns that this guy had, but like, you know, very fiery personalities. I feel that at least on the mound, kind of right then, like the fun stuff, just like you get a sense of like, okay, this guy cares as much as I care watching. Like Carlos Zambrano back in the day, like that dude was he had a different. I think his was more like angry, where Shota's I guess more fun, but like in similar like emotion on the mound, just fun to see. After, you know, every huge strikeout. And then he came close to a no-hitter. No-hit bid got taken out, 7th inning. Would have been fun to see. I think he was nearing 100 pitches, but hey, we'll live. I think he'll have a few more chances in his Cubs career for a no-hitter. A few more pitching highlights I want to point out here. James Antyon, who second year as a Cub, last year struggled in the first half, and then ever since he returned to Yankee Stadium, I think it was last July, he's been fantastic. This year he had 28 starts, 3.27 ERA, 165 innings. Justin Steele, unfortunately, he had a couple IL stints. He only made 24 starts, but he was still fantastic. 3.07 ERA for him. And then a couple of relievers. Yes, there were actually a couple of relievers who were great for the Cubs this year. Rookie, I think this was a great one. Well, I'll start with Tyson Miller, who was picked up on a trade in May from the Seattle Mariners. He had a 2.15 ERA in 50 1/3 innings pitched this year. Really stabilized that mid relief and setup role from June forward. And then rookie Porter Hodge, 39 appearances, 43 innings pitched. He had a 1.88 ERA. And I think this is even a better number because, you know, we get stressed out when it's a tight game, relievers come in, and then they start giving up base runners. But he only had a 0.88 whip. Fantastic. Less than 1 base run per inning. 52 strikeouts in those 43 innings pitched. And then he did end the season as the team's closer. He ended up with, 9 saves and 12 opportunities. 75%. If the Cubs had 75% all year, they're in the playoffs. But good stuff from Porter Hodge.
23.
What nasty stuff too. Just
23.
23.
Like he ain't an old dog. He ain't a journeyman. He's a fucking young pup, and I love it. Like a young pup doing it. That's a thing, man. That's a vibe. If you want, God, I hate you that phrase, but I use it way too much now. Fuck you, Cody, for that shit. It's your vibe shit. Now I'm saying vibe all the time. Well, my fiance uses something that starts with vibe, but it's not. It's a Raider. But what? We got other things too to look at. First off, no Neris. Right? Are we done with Neris? Right? We're good. Are we clear on that?
Well, he's gonna be part of the negatives that we get to.
Dang it. You got other guys though that went out there. Look, we got Justin Steele, who started the whole season started with Justin Steele. Opening night. Oh, I'm out for like how many weeks with a knee injury? Rough, right? You've got a bullpen
hamstring out until May, I think.
You've got 35-year-old Drew Smiley working at all. And then you've got, you know, the professor out there too. But your bullpen, when you look at this, you got, you know, Tyson Miller, I think has not yet begun to show us how good he can be. Even though he's 28, he's also old. But
this was his first. This was his first full year in the majors.
exactly. So that's the only reason he gets that little bit of age there. Neris, 35, been around. Alzolay is 20. Dude, Adbert's going to be 30.
I
I
don't think.
of when Harry met Sally. And
I don't. I want to break this news now.
Oh, is he
It's
out?
not really breaking news, but Edward Alzolay had Tommy John surgery in like August. The Cub, he's going to be a non-tender in November for the. He's
think
not
so? They're
going
just
to be
gonna-
on
they're
the
just
40-man roster, sadly.
So
maybe they
can't
bring him
keep
back on the minor league deal. He gets
gonna
the
say-
rehab, but
I was gonna say, how do they keep him? Because they owe him at least the rehab.
I think they're going to non-tender him. It's like, hey man, you've only ever been with us. You know our facilities. If you trust he's been injured before with the Cubs. If you trust our process with you, we'll bring you back on the minor league deal. We'll see how you progress next year because he's not going to pitch at all. I don't think he's going to. He had the surgery in August.
But didn't the Cubs just fire a bunch of people from their actual?
Okay,
training
first
staff?
negative I want to get to.
Okay,
I'm going
Is
to
that-
read you.
is that
I'm
right?
going to.
Oh.
Yeah, they fired a couple strength coaches along with a couple of the regular, other, I guess, on-field coaches. Here are the injuries just to pitch it. This is just pitching on the 40-man roster. This is
Preparing
just the
myself for
40-man
this.
roster.
Just preparing.
Like you said, season started. Actually, before the season, Jameson Taillon started the season on the injured list. I think he had a back issue.
That's
And then opening night, Justin Steele goes down, hamstring issue. He was out for like a month, and then he missed a couple weeks in September with an elbow. Was it elbow? But he did come back and make a couple starts at the end of the year. But Justin Steele on the IL twice. Jameson Taillon started the year on the injured list. Jordan Wicks had 2 separate stints on the IL. He missed the majority of the season. Kyle Hendricks, he was on the IL. We can argue if it was like a bullshit IL stint. He wasn't good when he came back, but he was a lot better than his like 27,000 ERA that he had in April.
It all started when I also saw him at Wrigley Field. I saw the first good start of the year for the professor.
And
I
then
actually
guess
wore a
what?
Grateful Dead Cub shirt.
And then guess what? Everyone else who was filling in for the rotation, they got hurt. Javier Assad, he went on the injured list. Ben Brown was having Ben Brown was going to get Rookie of the Year votes too, along with Shota Minaga and Michael Busch. And then he got hurt in June. He didn't come back. Those were just like starting pitchers. Because then we go to the bullpen.
I mean, but Ben Brown was actually worked out of the bullpen too, though. Ben Brown was actually. What did he have? How many times he came out of the pen?
I think he had like 8 starts.
7 times. 7 times out of the pen. Yeah. But he also had one of those. He was Johnny Holstaff guy, where they'd start somebody for 2 and then give the rest of the game to Ben Brown, which I thought was actually kind of clever.
Ben Brown, his third to last. I think we might forget this just because he didn't pitch since June.
That's our guy, though.
His third to last start with the Cubs, 7 no-hit innings in Milwaukee, 10 strikeouts. Beautiful start, and then he got hurt 2 starts.
He's going to be an ace. I'm sorry.
An
ace when he's
over to the bullpen. Yency Almonte. He looked fantastic, and then he got hurt in May. He didn't come back. Adbert Alzolay, we just mentioned him. He got hurt in May or June, and then he needed Tommy John surgery. He didn't come back. Luke Little was fantastic. He was really good, and then he got hurt.
Patrick Wisdom with a 0 ERA, motherfucker, at 32.
Julian Merriweather, he was out most of the year. He had like a knee surgery in September after suffering a rib fracture in April. And then we have other guys who also filled in. Keegan Thompson, injured list a couple times. Daniel Palencia, injured list. Hayden Wesneski, injured list. Before they traded him to the Yankees, Mark Leiter Jr. was on the injured list. Drew Smiley was on the injured list. Jorge Lopez, who was another nice in-season pickup and was fantastic as well out of the bullpen. He went on the injured list twice. And then
how somebody gets a negative 0.83 FIP. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at Paradas. Not third base Isak, but Inoli Paradas.
Oh, because he had like a perfect inning.
He's got a negative 0.83 FIP.
He was so good. I think it determined that he didn't give up any. Whatever the FIP calculation is, he was responsible for negative value there. I think he had like a strikeout.
It's never a good
and then
season.
Caleb Killian, before the season started, he was on the injured list. He didn't come back until like the summer, and then he made a couple starts with the Cubs.
How about number 34, 35, and 36 on the Cubs list this year too is David Bodie, Matt Mervis, and Patrick Wisdom. That cracks me up.
No,
So 3 times this year, Bodie, Mervis, and Wisdom had to pitch at least, and only once. Yeah, only once. What do you think? Kuas, is it? Like,
by the way, Jose
that was a trade
Cuas.
last year. That was a trade last year. That was like, oh, everyone loved it because he came from the Royals and he's got a weird delivery.
We've seen a whole bunch of lose trades.
Uh-huh.
That trade, I know at first everyone was freaking out because Nelson Velasquez was hitting home runs with the Royals last year. But guess the other team who went to the playoffs after a player was sent down to the minor leagues? The Kansas City
Traded away
Royals.
a
Nelson
AAA
Velasquez was kind of bad.
AAA depth piece at that point, but I think fans just wanted to see.
By the way, the Cubs bullpen. The main issue with the Cubs bullpen, 26 blown saves, they didn't have an established closer. They had the injuries early on to Alzolay, and then Hector Neris came in, and we don't want to talk about that again. There's no good answers. The Cubs had like Colton Brewer and Drew Smiley trying to close out games against the Giants. It was a shit show, but it's pretty crazy. Again, that was the main issue. There's no good closer. The Cubs had like the number 6 bullpen ERA from June until the end of the season. Again, a little too late. Would have loved to have someone actually get 3 outs in the 9th inning from the very beginning of the season. And I hope that is addressed. I have a question for you. We just brought up Porter Hodge. If Porter Hodge is the opening day closer, how do you feel in 2025?
It depends on what's available on the market. That's a tough question because I've never been sold on Adbert like really ever.
Oh, no, forget about Adbert. Adbert's done.
No.
Yeah, Tommy John.
No, what I'm saying is this year we came in thinking Adbert would be that, like an unproven guy.
Okay,
I don't think that I've had an issue where I'm like, oh God, Porter Hodge is like this guy's like he's got something going on upstairs that concerns me. Porter Hodge has actually shown to me like dude might not have a soul. I like the idea of giving the kid a shot. If the market dictates, I don't mind moving him to an 8th inning role or a 7th inning role. If someone that's established that is proven to be, but we're seeing it right now. I mean, we were joking about Hader, when people are like, he blew a save today in the playoffs. Yeah. I mean, he was 34 or 38 though. I'm paying that guy $20 million. If I have to set it, forget it, 34 out of 38 times with success, I'm going to take that compared to what the Cubs had this year with 25 plus blown saves. That again gets you into the postseason. It doesn't mean that it's a crunch time guy, because once you get to the postseason, you also have a decision to make as a manager. Who are you going to trust in every circumstance? Thick moments, thin moments, and in this case today, like Hader, he might be really good in regular season, but when the spotlights are bright, maybe he's not so good. And you got to know who you can kind of trust. And so I don't know. You give Porter Hodge a chance, sure. If the market opens up and you got a guy that's proven to be a good postseason, guy. But also has, unless, of course, he's from Oakland, then I'm going to give you pretty much my keys to my house, if you'd like, to bring that man home, because he throw 104. I mean, you're not going to fix that. What's his name? Out in Oakland.
Would you trade Matt Shaw and somebody else for Mason Miller?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I would. Other than health concerns, which he got a little tendonitis, but now he came back and he was better. he first full season as a pro, right? I guess that dude is the kind of guy that you can literally just say, are we within 3 runs? Maybe today I need to rest him. Are we within 1 run? Okay, now get hot. Like, you don't even have to get him hot with 3 sometimes, but he's a guy that you can set it and forget it in the 9th. If you can bridge, if you can, again, shorten your staff with a guy that just shuts the door every time, then you got to worry about the 8th and the 7th. Unless it's Jordan Wicks, you got to worry about the 5th, 6th, and 7th, 8th, and then the 9th. But there's guys that can go deeper. Jameson Taillon, by the way, fantastic all year. People were shitting all over him after his first couple months. Never gave up on that guy. I'm so happy to see that guy he killed it. He killed it. And he might be, unfortunately, a trade casualty if the Cubs go weird. But I like him. The fact is, when you have guys that can go into the 6th inning, then all you're really worrying about, Shota can get in through 6. Taillon can get through 6. Go out and get another starter that can get through 6. Ben Brown's not going to get that way if he's, as a young guy, if he's coming off injury. You don't want to do that with Horton if you're bringing Horton up. But you bring in, again, like we're talking about earlier, what's his name? one of Council's dudes. Jesus.
Oh, Corbin Burns.
Burns. Yeah, bringing Burns. You know that guy can get you through 6. Like, you know what they can do. And all of a sudden, you eliminate the chances for poor bullpen management. I'm going to say this, and I hate making excuses because I am very, very critical of Craig Counsell. But when you have to, like, pick an arm for the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th inning routinely in a season because guys are just burning pitches, they might go throw smoke ring. They might go 4 innings, give up no runs, but you have to pull them after 4 because they burned their pitch count because they were playing with fire, but they didn't actually give up the runs. It still sucks. You have way more opportunity to make the wrong choice the wider out your bullpen gets. And so for a guy like Counsell, the arrow that hits the mark is 1,000, is the result of 1,000 misses. You get a bullpen, you can reduce the 1,000 misses and make it maybe 500 misses, right? In this case. But I think with Porter Hodge, fuck it. Unless the market dictates, a guy like Miller, you go with it. But if the market says no, yeah, that's an okay start. But you're never, like you say, your bullpen in May is never the same. In March or May or whatever is never the same as it is in August. And I
do think that is true.
You need a closer.
I would like the closer to be the same.
Yeah, you need the door slammer. And
because
we had Kimbrel at one point.
Yeah,
didn't work immediately, but
that's true.
You've also had
people forget that 2019, which has been very similar to these past 2 seasons. What was another reason that that team didn't make it to the playoffs, despite having a juggernaut offense, decent starting pitching? They did not have a closer either. And then when they signed Kimbrel, he wasn't ready. And another thing I love about Porter Hodge, and this was a problem early on, why the Cubs kept blowing saves. They kept giving up home runs in tight games. Porter Hodge only gave up 2 home runs in those 43 innings. So I absolutely love that fact about him.
Porter Hodge has a .88 whip.
Yeah, as I was mentioning.
That's what
low stress. Low stress.
Guess what? If you have a 3-run lead and you give up a solo jack trying to go hard on someone on a 1-2 count, who gives a shit? Next guy up. If you're putting guys on base and then making the stupid fucking mistakes like Hector Neris played with fire all goddamn year, bases loaded and you get the save. Yeah, but how many times did he not get sooner or later, it's going to happen. So a guy that reduces that risk is someone that that .88 whip is fucking fantastic for a closer. I love that number right there. And so, you're right.
Going back to your point about, Counsell needing to dip into the bullpen early because the starters were going long. I've seen some talk. It's like, well, the Cubs had a good rotation. Why would they spend most of the money in free agency on another starting pitcher? Half true, because this is the final 2024 stat here for the Cubs starting rotation. They had a 3.77 ERA. That was 5th best in Major League Baseball. So you're thinking, all right, we got an elite staff, right? However, that was only the 12th most innings, 6th most in the National League. So we're creeping back towards the middle. It's great that these guys were able to shut down teams. But if you're only doing that 5 innings at a time, you have to then use 3-4 guys for those last 4 innings of a game. And we saw so many times that it just takes one guy to have a blow up, and then all of a sudden your 2-3 run lead is gone. Another interesting thing I noticed about the blown saves and stuff. Mm-hmm. I have to imagine that the Detroit Tigers, like, their blown saves were like they blew the save, but it was only tied, and then they were able to win. Because I feel like a lot of the Cubs ones where they blew the save, the team is leading with like a home run or a hit, whatever. Because the Detroit Tigers had 26 blown saves too, and they still made the postseason. So I need to go back and see the game by game blown saves for that, because that seemed kind of crazy to me. And I think the Dodgers had a lot of blown saves, but you can afford that when you have fucking superstars.
When you put up that much, but the Cubs didn't have that because you didn't get you didn't go pay Shohei Ohtani $700 million. So you have to actually make sure you make the right decisions, unless you want to just, you ever play on like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop. If you have the fill tool is so much easier with a larger fucking like compared to like try to use a clone tool, right? And so the fill tool, you're like, brah, and it's like a mass. Like you're gonna hit the mark regardless. So if you're scoring that much, you have room for fucking mistakes. The Dodgers lost Mookie Betts, they lost Yamamoto, they've lost what's his name? What's the other the big ginger righty?
Oh, what's his name?
May? Is it Dirk May? No.
Yes, May.
Yeah, they've lost dudes.
So many guys. No,
And they're
like
just
every year.
Like, fuck it. No big deal. Next guy up. We paid everyone this money. That's what happens when you build depth. That's what, look, the Dodgers are scary. And Shohei hasn't even like grabbed the pill yet. But that's why you spend. And that's why you don't worry about like things like, I don't know, a luxury tax. You just grab guys like Soto when you get a chance. You don't do stuff that's for optics. You make real heavy gamble moves that the Cubs have proven to be like scared to do since the Hayward and even a little bit Dansby Swanson, even though a 4 WAR is definitely worth his value. I don't give a shit what people say. Offensively, maybe people were expecting something else, but again, just like with Horner, you're not getting that. That's not
You're
what he
getting
is.
exactly what they are.
Exactly.
What they
You
are.
knew what they were. There's enough data. But it's just, it is what it is. So like that's a cool part about like when you build these depth. So the Cubs don't have that luxury unless they're going to drop their testicles on the table and go, let's go balls in. They ain't going to do that. Theo's like dipping in cold water at this point because Ricketts is walking around with this bucket of ice.
Speaking of that depth, though, I don't like the Nico trade talk or like even Paredes. I know there's been like a little. I think I brought it up to you guys the other day. It's like, oh well, maybe you dangle out Michael Busch, try to get a star like a better bat, but. And all this is because Matt Shaw is at AAA, and we're assuming that he's going to be up into that. You don't have to trade those guys. You can because you still want that depth. You still want that.
Like how about this? Curtis plays like he plays like 100 games a year, and you got Nico playing at second. You got Shaw that can also rotate around those 3 guys. Nico can spell Dansby. You put Shaw at second. You've got 4 guys that can
base. You want to give Michael Busch a day off against a lefty? He's starting at first base. Seiya needs a day off. He's DHing. Happ needs a day off. He's DHing. There's a tough lefty. Okay, you move around the outfield.
Just any lefty, you pinch hit Patrick Wisdom for Michael Busch.
We have to be on Patrick Wisdom non-tender watch because he has to be non-tender.
We're on non-tender watch right now. Like I can't wait. No offense, and I love. He's a nice guy. I don't want him to lose his job. I
think we're like on year 2. I know a couple years ago, like heading into 2023, it's like, okay, whatever. But heading into last year, now heading into 2025, we need to get when there's no need for Patrick Wisdom on this
preaching
team.
to the choir here. He's Michael. He's David Bodie elevated, but it's fine. But that's the thing is. And so I want that guy to get a job somewhere, by the way. I don't want Patrick Wisdom to be jobless.
Oh, Patrick Wisdom is going to go out. He's going to go with the Reds. He's going to hit like 20 home runs, and he's going to be great there.
He'll go 25 for like 30 as a pinch hitter with 22 homers, and it'll all be against lefties. No, but oh shit. But that's I mean, what we're looking at right now with the Cubs is depth, right? You want to have guys that can play over the diamond because you can actually spell guys and not lose production. Look, is it difficult for a guy to play positions sometimes and not get a day off? Yeah, it's nice to be able to just pop a guy in the DH spot for a day and let him take it like a leg day off, right? All he has to do is go swing it. When you have guys that can play all over, you have guys that could be like, again, I'm going to say Swiss Army knife a million times over. When you got guys that can play multiple positions, you can move guys around, give guys spells, and not lose anything at the plate other than a guy that's just resting his legs for the day, but still wants to go swing it. And dudes do like that. I mean, I hate DHing if it was my job every day. But if I got to take a day off and I'm going to DH, it's a great day, man. I can come in a little later, just go work. I don't have to go take early outs. I can go hit and then just be ready to play. That's it. It's a good day. Mental health day. Call it a mental. We do that at work all the time, right? Have you guys ever gone to work and you're like, I'm going to do some work. I'm going to be really good at the work I do. I'm not going to mail it in by any means, but I'm going to enjoy the day a little bit. I'm not going to rush. I'm going to just enjoy I'm gonna do my job, but I'm not gonna let anybody. I might be late to an email that's like urgent. I might just kind of just do my thing, and it's mental health day, and you come back the next day and you're back balls to the wall. You're back in the chaos. But same thing with guys that can play all over. You give those guys that luxury. Like Nico needs a day off. You're not losing anything if Matt Shaw goes to second much, and you can same with third. Same even with short Shaw. Horner both can play short. I mean, God, can't Paredes play short? Wasn't he a shortstop? Jesus.
No.
Is bad shortstop.
I know a third baseman when I see it.
Oh yeah. But didn't he play shortstop though? Like,
did he? Maybe.
Maybe not. I swear I thought someone was like, "Well, shortstop. You don't need a shortstop." But hold on.
By the way, the Milwaukee Brewers sadly did come back against the Mets in Game 2.
He played 11 games. Last year, he played 11 games at second.
He doesn't have the quick twitch to be
playing. Oh, no. He's a shortstop on a bad team if that's ever the case. But let's see what positions, career by positions. Here we go. What do we got? Let's see, splits, career. Oh, shit. So, by the way, side note, for those of you that care, we got a cat last Saturday. First pet we've had in the house since the buddy was gone. And holy shit, before this podcast, I came home from work. Like, again, buddy was always easy, but he would lay on the ground if he had to, but I usually keep him out there because he was like heavy breathing. Cat was legit before I got in here. Meow, 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 meow. She is now officially out of her not cage, out of her like shell. She's rocking.
What's
now.
The name?
Her name is Reba because Carrie is a ginger, and Carrie, her favorite show growing up was Reba, and she sings fancy all the time. So I thought it was cute. So we did that. He's only played 6 games at short, by the way. First base 56, second base 58, 325 at third, and then whatever. But yeah, she's a cute little kitty, and so she's now figuring out. She's kind of dumb though, in that sense that we bought her this new water thing because she liked the sink, and she was licking out of the sink. So we bought this thing that has like the falling water. Well, we have video now. It just came through while I was in here because Carrie put it together. She just puts her head under the water like that, and she's not actually drinking it. It's just going over her like the calming waters of Lake Minnetonka.
A little waterfall.
Yeah. Like, okay, but that's fine. She'll get used to it. But it's fun though. It's nice to have a little fucker in the house, and she's a 6 pound. She's 3 years old, but she's 6 pounds. So she's only like,
wow.
So she's like, dang. I was like, we had our choice. There was this fat cat called Chaos that was like a long hair with blue eyes, and he was a little bit more like kind of he had a fupa already. We were like, and then she came in and she was like perfect. And we are like, she's so cute. And she was talky. And I like talky cats. I want one that's gonna kind of say some things. And
good for you guys.
She was so small, but she's so tiny. So I can't be rough with her either. But we thought that giving her like 3-4 months before because we're gonna get dogs in like December, January. We're gonna finally bring the pups back.
Okay.
And I want a puppy. Cats I think need more time to like establish their space, their hierarchy. So that's why she's here now. And we did that. Like it was a few shots of whiskey and a couple of espresso martinis with the convincing blows. But
shout out Reba.
Yeah, Reba's out. Reba's out. She's out. And so we've opened up the office. So she comes in here now. We did room by room. And now we're opening up tonight. We're going to open up the bedroom. So she can come sleep with us if she wants to, or she can go to her little safe room, which we created when she came in, which I regret. I wish I'd just used the office because it's the bathroom and it's like the shitter, and that's like the morning shitter. So I'm kind of like, when I don't want Carrie to hear the bubble guts that's of the whatever the abomination is, and now she's in there. So I'm like, shit. But it's fine. But not as bad as perhaps the performances this year of Cubs earned run bullpen leader Hector Neris. So are you happy with that? Like, I forget where you were at with Hector Neris, by the way.
At the beginning, when they signed it, I was looking back at articles I wrote from last offseason. I thought it was a great signing.
Yeah, I feel like I liked it then.
Yeah, no, we liked it. It was like, hey, good deal, option year if he performs. All right, if if his option vests, that means that he was pitching a lot, which means it's good. He was in a lot of games protecting leads. No. It's crappy what the Cubs did. They cut him in August and they got out of that option, so they didn't have to pay him. But hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Jed got that night.
And I mean, he was bad. And like you said, even when he was putting up when he was getting those saves like in May and June, it was a heart attack every time.
Drama.
I want to leave off this episode last topic here, and it's basically going to set the course of the offseason and what direction the Cubs go, what type of moves they are able to do. I think how big of moves they can do offensively. I still think no matter what, they'll go out and target. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe the surprises, but I think they do get a solid another top of the rotation type arm.
Oh, you think so?
In free agency, but offensively, one of the reasons that the Cubs did regress there in 2024 is because they just didn't get the year. They didn't get a repeat performance from Cody Bellinger. As we know, he signed a 3-year, $80 million deal with them in the offseason. He can opt out after the World Series ends here in the month. Do you think he opts out, or does he opt back in?
Well, all you Scott Boras haters, this is why Scott Boras is a fucking genius. Because right now, Cody Bellinger has a choice. I'm sure Cody Bellinger can hear the echoes in the baseball community about how much someone else is willing to pay Cody Bellinger to do what he does. And he has that player option. So he can decide, do I stay or do I go? Now, there are a couple things. Like, look, if Cody Bellinger opts out and then signs a contract that's better than what the Cubs gave him, then again, I get it. If Cody Bellinger opts out and takes something less, I think there's a problem with what the Cubs organization is as a whole for a guy that's been a part of a championship team and a winning franchise for the better part of a decade before he came to Chicago, even if he was not the best contributor for that while he was hurt. But I think that when you look at what Cody has to choose from, he's got some pretty, I mean, if the market actually says that he's more valuable after this year compared to last year, I think that this year was maybe people were a little more leery about his health. I do think that the owners were colluding to fuck over specifically Scott Boras, which we now see with Montgomery. Maybe it's because Montgomery didn't get paid, but he fired Boras because Boras couldn't fucking sell ketchup to the person in white gloves. Maybe that was the problem. Because now the agent that does represent Montgomery has lost all credibility with ownership across the board because he sold shitty goods. But I think with Bellinger, it's the opposite. And I think that it depends on the market. And I think that if he does know that he can get more, it depends on what he feels about the Cubs org. Like, honestly, Cody Bellinger staying means that someone has come from a winning organization and still believes the Cubs can do what they do, plus get paid, which is fine by me. And if he leaves, it tells me that someone that has seen successful organizations now believes that the Cubs organization is not being run like one. And that is more my tell. I don't think it has to do with dollars. I think it has to do with the choice. And I think I don't fault Cody if he decides, again, he's been my favorite non-Cubs player before he was a Cub. Like, he was always my favorite non-Cub player. And so when he came to the Cubs, I was super stoked. But I also now, with what went on with KB and now, everything, seeing how that's played out too, even like, as we grow as we learn. And I think that, if Cody Bellinger opts out and he takes a better payday, I don't blame him ever. I'll never blame him on that because you're going to get what you get. If he leaves and takes a lower payday, I'm going to question what's going on with the entire umbrella organization. And that's where criticism might be a little more valid. So we'll see what so goes Cody, I think. So goes my opinion of just like everything. Because if he sticks around, I think I can trust a little bit more. But at the same time, the Cubs need a superstar. Cody's not a superstar. He's an MVP. That doesn't make him a superstar. That makes him a valuable player. But there are superstars. There are dudes that you roll up like an Aaron Judge, where you're like, people cut into their broadcasts when that player hits. The Cubs need that. And if the Cubs get that, I don't know if they can. They'd have to actually kind of dig in a little bit for Juan Soto, right? That'd be a guy. Or they go the buy low, but still probably is going to be a superstar mode, like a Luis Robert or whatever. What's his name? What's his name in Seattle? I think maybe even. But
no, I don't think they're trading J-Rod.
yeah, I was gonna say, but I'm just saying, like those guys that are kind of like you're buying low, like they had their
Well,
jinx.
has your I think you were pretty big on him last offseason. I think I was a little depending on the trade value, but Pete Alonso. What do you think about Pete Alonso? He's going to be a free agent, first base, DH, but you have Michael Busch. But you can, again, you want as many good players as you want. Cubs need power. That is one of the last stats I do want to share. The Cubs were tied for 20th in home runs. They hit 170.
Look, if this eliminates the wisdom, right-handed, left-handed bullshit, A, I'm in. B, Alonso can play first in DH. Bush can play first DH. Maybe jump around the diamond a little bit if he has to. I don't mind. Look, if you have Pete Alonso as a DH and a first baseman and that rotation's going around, I can handle Seiya's defense out in right field. And it's actually not that bad in the first place.
And that's the sacrifice, I think. Or like that's the
Then you can use Casey as a trade piece. I'm sorry.
I think that's the crossroad the Cubs are at, is how much they're willing to sacrifice the defensive end to add more. They need more power. Flat out, they need more power.
They need more power.
They need more power. And if that means their defense goes down a couple spots, I think you have to consider that. I did want to ask you how. Okay, so let's say Cody Bellinger does opt back in. This past year, he played 130 games. He spent a couple times on the IL. I think first with what was it? It was like a rib fracture, and he came back very soon.
Didn't he crash into the wall or something?
Yeah, he crashed into the wall against the Astros. I think it was the Astros. And then he got drilled on the hand. He missed a couple more weeks there. But he still played 130 games.
That's not a health question. That's not a health question to me.
But I was just going to say, so he only played 130 games. He played 130 games last year, but this year, the numbers just across the board went down. He slashed 266, 325, 426, a 109 WRC plus. Last year, he hit 307, 356 on base. He slugged 525. He had a 136 WRC plus, best on the team. 26 home runs last year, 18 home runs this year. I don't think he's ever going to get back to his MVP level season. I mean, and again, the baseball is just different. But how confident are you that he gets back to his 2023 production if he does opt back in?
I'm confident that he will. But my question is too, like when you look at how was, like, again, I don't know these numbers. I feel like once he was back to Cody, again, left shoulder, right shoulder, he seems to keep injuring joint areas, which is annoying kind of, but it happens. But when you look at his September and October, man, the dude hit, he had a 447, he had a 774 OPS. July was really where it really kicked. He had a really good July. He had an 884 OPS. He was going. He hit he actually only drove in 7 runs. He was his most productive OPS wise, but only drove in 7. He drove in 16.
I'll give the breakdown. So he went on the injured list that Orioles series right before the All-Star break.
He
came back July 30th.
Yeah.
So July 30th through the end of the season, he had a 110 WRC plus, which, I mean, his overall season was 109. He slashed 260, 316, 451. He did slug a little more. 9 home runs and 225 plate appearances.
Remember, he couldn't hit a homer to save his fucking life early in the season. Remember that? It was like, remember we were joking. We used to make jokes about it. Like he had 2 homers in May.
But even then, when I'm assuming that he was a little more healthy when he came back against that. So that was the hand injury when he came back in July. He finished the year 110 WRC plus. Okay, nothing special. I don't know. It's a little worrying. It's a little worrying.
It's a little okay. That you're right. Actually, that's actually that lays it out a little bit better. But you know what? He's coming. He's not going to have to worry about negotiations. He's coming in. He's a Cub, or he's not, and he opts out if he opts out. But what he does have is an opportunity to write his own path, which I like. So if he comes back,
so basically, what he has to beat is like 2 years, $50 million. I think is what he's going to be owed over the next couple of years.
You should be thinking the market value is low right now because everything should be 20% higher for every.
I think the one thing that works in his favor
role
is
player
that
should get 10 million at this
I
point.
think though the one big thing that works in his favor if he does opt out is that the outfield free agent market isn't that. It's like Juan Soto and nobody else. I think. I feel I need to.
Makes Owen Casey kind of valuable as a prospect to sell some magic beans for. Now he's going to be good. I don't think he's magic beans. I think he's real beans, but he might be someone you can oversell a little bit because he's not struggled at all every chance he's been given. So keeping him down might have been really good because no one knows if he's going to struggle at the major league level. We saw PCA's going to figure it out, but maybe don't expose it. Mervis lost his value the minute he couldn't hit major league pitching.
Oh, Matt Mervis.
Remember that? Oh,
This is why they needed to give him 4 months in 2023.
but
At least they would have known that.
Sure, but Belly will do what he does. Like I'm not super concerned if he sticks around. Great, next man up. I'd be sad. I would be sad if the Cubs didn't offer him. If Cody walks away on his own accord, I'm cool with it. Actually, so
if Cody Bellinger opts out, hey, again, like you said,
no harm, no foul.
If these guys get paid, I love it. Everybody get paid. Get your money, because we all know that the owners get theirs, so players should get theirs too.
Cody wherever he goes.
If it means that the Cubs are able to get a power bet in there, like an established one, I know Cody Bellinger had the 25 homer year last year, but it's not. His swing is different now. It's not the same. It's just not the same power. It's not the same.
No, he shortens up with 2 strikes.
It's not the same drive, and that's all good. But again, the Cubs are lacking power. They need power.
Getting better, but it's affecting his ability to leave the yard.
Like if his roster spot is replaced by, and I think it's only a couple guys. Like it's only a couple guys. If it's Vlad Jr. though,
oh yeah, shit.
I'm sorry, Cody, get paid somewhere else.
Vlad play right field. God, that guy can play.
Like
right
Cody Bellinger, go back to LA, hang out with the Angels, sign like a 7-year deal with them.
Cool with it.
But man, the Cubs, they have to get creative. They need power. I don't know where it's going to come from, but they need it.
You're right, 100%.
That is my the need power. I do feel confident just because we have seen the front office go out almost every offseason. Maybe it's not the number 1 starting pitcher, but we've seen Marcus Stroman get signed, short deal, 3 years, opted out or got traded. Or no, he did opt out after his second year. But Marcus Stroman, he was like in that second tier, kind of first tier free agency. They got Shota Imanaga last year, Jameson Taillon a couple years off seasons ago. I do trust that they'll go out there and get a solid starting pitcher. Maybe they surprise us. Maybe it is Corbin Burns. Maybe it's Max Fried. Get that value, but another good starting pitcher. Max Fried. Oh man, that would be fantastic. Cubs would have 3 killer lefties.
So in
Max
essence,
Fried, Justin
power?
Steele, and Shota.
You want power, arms,
Power arm, yes,
and power arms.
and power.
Which there's like a Venn diagram, right? It's power and arms with power arms.
And then I don't know if it's through trade. Again, the free agent market's like it's Juan Soto. It's Pete Alonso. It's Juan Soto. It's Pete Alonso. Those are like the 2 main And Juan Soto is a lot more than just a power hitter. He's just a general.
Jed has a chance to do something really fucking funny, which is get both.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Both.
There's only like another position that can be filled, and that's catcher. What if the Cubs trade for Wilson Contreras? Get that power back. Hear me out, Kevin. Hear me out, Kevin. Hear me out.
If we were those things where you're like, fine, and
hear me out.
Grab your ankles, and you're like,
hear me out.
I thought you were gonna use the Crisco.
Miguel Amaya still starts 100 games behind the plate. Wilson Contreras, plays maybe 40 to 50, and then there'll probably be an injury pop up here or there, and then you'll need like a third catcher.
It happens.
And then Wilson Contreras splits time between catching and DHing. Wilson Contreras is still a very good hitter.
What about Moises? What about Moises?
Who?
Moises.
Ballesteros? If Miguel Amaya proves that he's not a guy, then
But isn't he?
Moises Ballesteros.
He's not a power guy.
He's so He's 20, 21.
What did he do at AAA this year, though?
Oh, he was good. I think he was solid. I think he had like a 110 WRC plus. Let's see. Moises Ballesteros at AAA. 106 WRC plus, slash line 281, 340, 454, 10 home runs, and 285. Plate appearances, 8.1% walk rate, 21.1% strikeout rate. He was solid. Dude's only 20. He's a hitter.
Really 20,
I
yeah,
trust him.
okay.
It's just
Yeah, maybe not too
how
soon.
much do you trust him?
Couple coffees for him when someone's banged
That's
up.
I know earlier this year in 2024, before Miguel Amaya turned it around, I was like, hey man, fuck it, just go balls to the wall, bring up Ballesteros. That was a little too much.
No, but you can
He
bring him
was
up
only
like,
20. You don't know how he's going to adjust to like catching an MLB pitching staff.
you have the options, use them, right? So when someone's like, hey, I need a rest, maybe someone has, I got my Achilles. Oh my God, my Achilles. And they're grabbing their neck. But you realize, they just need a couple days. And you give them those couple days, you bring them up, let them just, let them sit for a day or two, and then let them play. And then
I think
slow
he had
it up.
down. I think he had a down season. I think he mainly plays center field now. But what about your boy Dalton Varsho? Get him from the Blue Jays. He used to catch. He used to catch.
He's fast as fuck.
But I think
he won't be that fast if he's a catcher.
Well, I was gonna say that's crazy. Who was it?
Eventually.
Craig Biggio, right? He was like a center fielder, catcher.
And went to second base. Yeah, he was originally a catcher and then shifted over to second. Yep. That's a perfect comp for him, actually.
But that's the thing. He loses so much value if he's not playing the outfield, which I guess he could play right field.
I think go and
but no,
right.
That's a lower level trade.
Rotate Vlad and Seiya every other day.
If they do it, that'd be so great.
I'd be cool with that.
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I know I was like a little down with it when we talked about it back last offseason. Like, but no, I'm fully on board. I apologize for ever doubting Vladimir Guerrero.
He's been so good for so long that people assume he's like fucking 40 years old at this point. Like,
I think that's the other thing. I was like, wait, dude's only still 25.
He's younger than Morel? Wait, what? Like, Jesus. But this is the best part about baseball is like some guys just figured out. It's such a long game with pro ball too, because at 162 plus, these guys, you don't know what you're going to get, and you want to try and get what you get. And you have to put them all into these little pegs, and you fill up this puzzle, and you hope that puzzle like reaches 162 plus whatever. What are you gonna win? Like 18 at this point? I don't know how many games you gotta win. Like what's the checklist of
what is it?
Postseason wins?
But then, it depends if you get the first round bye or not.
Oh God, that makes it even harder.
So it's either 11 or 13.
You can't make a proper cardboard pull off cutout like
it's either 11 or 13 if you're in the wild card round.
That's a lot, though. So you got to.
Well, speaking of, let's end the show with that, Kevin. Your World Series winner prediction, 2024. Who you got?
Well, in our preseason thing, it was still Orioles and Phillies, so we're looking good.
Orioles are gone. So did you pick the Phillies?
Oh, they did. They lost today. Oh,
yep.
They're out. Ah, shit. I wasn't looking.
Orioles. They've now lost, I think, 10 or 11 straight postseason games.
Well, that one's gone, but. I still had Phillies winning it all, so I'm going to stick with that. I'm going with the Vegas guys, but I also think that they have just enough energy to kind of push past the Dodgers' talent in a short series.
Well, you're forgetting. What if the Mets catch up on them?
Hope not, but fuck the Mets. I think that the Phillies have like they're an energy team, and I think the energy teams in the postseason when you're playing, the only way to defeat a team that has that supreme ability just top to bottom like the Dodgers do
is what the Mets
are. It's David and Goliath. The Mets are Grimace.
But if the Mets they did lose game 2 to the Brewers Wednesday night, but if they get out of the wild card round and if they play the Phillies, that game, I think that one's going all 5 games.
Oh, I think Phillies are going to roll them.
But come on, the Mets are your team. They're the not your team, but they're like the team who got hot at the end. This is
this is not logical. You didn't ask me to give you my logical. I'm saying
that's
no,
true,
they're lose.
Okay, so you said the Phillies. I think it's a good pick, solid pick. I still like the Padres. Padres are still.
I'd be fine with that too. That'd be cool.
And then I forget who I picked for the AL. I think maybe the Mariners, but they didn't even make the playoffs. The Mariners are very, very much like the Cubs. They had even better starting pitching. Like they truly had elite starting pitching, but an even worse offense than the Cubs. Maybe they can do a trade in the offseason.
We can get a fellow podcaster back on
We
the
need to get our
podcast.
guy Lyle back on. Work
I
out a
might know
trade.
what's going on in Seattle.
So you have the Orioles. Who do you think makes it out of the AL now?
Well, I mean,
I think it's the Yankees.
you have to think because they're going to put up like 12 runs a game. Like I'm just trying to figure out like who can actually shut that offense down. And
The Cleveland Guardians, or one of the other AL Central.
nobody from the AL Central is gonna no. That's
Tarek Schoolboy, your boy. If they match up in the ALCS,
I think Judge will still take him yard.
that guy's a
God, Judge
beast.
is so good. He's so good. What a freak show! Like we are watching. Like we've seen some really like Shohei is incredible. Aaron Judge. Now I finally have broken myself of calling him Mike Judge. I did have to pause. You notice it was like a stutter. Wow. Like, wow. Watching these dudes work is so cool. And a guy like that who just keeps doing it, like, holy smokes. Like, watching that guy dig in, what is he, 6'7"? Like, jeez. He's just a beast. And that the Yankees, they have out the talent. Obviously, Juan Soto. You've got, of course, Anthony Rizzo. You've got veteran leadership. I don't know. I don't think the Yankees are going to dogpile, but I think the Yankees might be the team watching someone dogpile this year. Now, if the Orioles are out, that's got to be the pick, right?
Yeah, I'm going with the Yankees. I know everyone's in love with the AL Central. It's like, oh, Cleveland, they're the gritty team. They, amazing bullpen. The Kansas City Royals and the Detroit Tigers got into the wild card. The Kansas City Royals were 12-1 against the White Sox. The Detroit Tigers were 10-1 before they clinched, and then they didn't care the last. So they got some help. They got some help getting into the
White Sox are impacting the postseason.
They got I'm just saying the AL wild card maybe got some assistance from another AL Central.
It helps. It helps.
You got to take advantage though. Hey, the Cubs had the opportunities against
schedule
bad
you
teams.
have, right?
They didn't take advantage. They took advantage. I think it's gonna be Yankees Padres. That'd be fun. Juan Soto against the team that traded him the offseason. Michael King is going to be starting. He was with the Yankees. That could be very fun.
I want to be in San Diego in 2 weekends, which would be around World Series time.
Gotta go back out there.
End of the month. It's a weekend at the end of the month. Oh my! What if it's World Series weekend and it's the Padres versus the Yankees?
That'd be fun.
Sorry.
Have you that
just expounding what? Whoa!
Those fans in San Diego, that ballpark gets. That ballpark gets loud.
It's a nice ballpark too, and the whole area, actually, the whole waterfront, it's great. And there's Hodad's right nearby, which is probably the best burger you're gonna have on the West Coast. It's
good. So we'll figure out what our off-season schedule is going to be. Unfortunately, we don't get to talk about the Cubs in the playoffs. Jet Hoyer talked. I don't really care.
Same thing he said.
You do care. Nothing against the people who do care. If you care, that's cool. But for me, whatever. But we'll figure out what our off-season podcast for the Cubs is going to be. Shout out to Mitch, who just keeps chugging along. The White Sox historic losing season, and he was on here every Wednesday. The Pinwheels pregame, talking Sox. Check out his latest show that went over the 2024 White Sox. At least the White Sox, most losses ever in a season. Entertaining still, somehow. A little entertaining just because of how bad they were. Kevin, quick thoughts. What did you think about White Sox fan cheering for the historic loss?
Ooh, I gotta be careful because I was told to stay out of White Sox business.
It's all right. Hey, we can all
I gotta be careful.
Opinions.
But no, how do you fault dudes going out there and try? The guys in the clubhouse probably don't want to be a part of the record. They don't want their name attached to that shit. So if you're really rooting on the dudes in the clubhouse, like the guys that are actually like still playing their ass off, it sucks to hear that for them. But it's actually kind of fucking funny because you know Reinsdorf's got to hear that shit. So it's weird. I would err to the side of the dudes out there playing their ass off. That, oh my God, they like how many games do they win down the stretch? Like, geez, they actually were
They won a couple series. They gave the Angels their most losses in a single season.
so like some dudes didn't quit. Like quitting on the dudes that don't quit sucks. Like I'm not a big fan of it. So I'm not gonna say you're shitty. I understand it because sometimes you get lost looking at the whole forest and it's just a leaf.
I think you said the word, and I think James Fox got shit on it when he tweeted out. But I think it was when I was seeing the videos of that last home series against the Angels, and the fans were cheering for the Angels when they were scoring, and they were booing when the Sox were winning. I was like, feels a little weird. It feels a little weird.
I can't imagine myself booing the Cubs for winning.
I get it because
I don't know where rock bottom is though, and it's a record loss season with in what was supposed to be the window. So I can't I don't know. It's like it's trauma, man. I don't know. Like you don't judge people.
And I understand the justifications. Like you want. Like they want Reinsdorf to have this embarrassment. They want it's like this is what you did. But it's like still who's gonna get shit on at the end of the day? It's not gonna be Jerry Reinsdorf. It's gonna be you as the fan base is gonna be not known as your team.
Can I just ask a favor though? Can we take that White Sox pessimism and throw that shit to the goddamn curb?
It's gonna be a while, man.
No, for the Bears season.
Oh, okay. I agree.
Into the Bears season.
I agree.
I feel
Stay away. Keep that
toxicity
toxicity out of here.
It's the White Sox. They're angry about. There are some fans that are so pissed off about the White Sox. It's just carrying over, and it creates this really bad Bears synergy. I guess we want to call it. I keep using that word tonight. I don't know why, but stop, man. Just fucking leave that shit at the curb. Stop. Reinsdorf doesn't own. No, it's Virginia. She's way more masculine than Jerry. So, but leave that shit at the curb. That's the worst part, and it's trauma though. It sucks, man. That I feel terrible. That's why I will never dogpile on this. Like White Sox fans deserve better. They do, but unless you're Ken Woe. Until you follow me back, Ken Woe.
Speaking of the Bears, let's actually finish the show off here.
Oh yeah,
Bears cover -3.5. Panthers.
Ooh, yes, I go cover. By the way, did you know UNLV football, the highest cover rate of any college football team dating back to the start of the 2023 season?
Whoa.
FYI.
Did UNLV lose their bowl game last year?
Oh yeah. Well,
I think that was
Kevin.
Kevin. I think that was the only time I bet on UNLV last year, and and I think I'm
quarterback got poached by USC. USC poached the quarterback. He didn't play.
Yeah.
Like this
was on me. You know what? That was on me. That was on me then.
If you watch the stuff that was going on with UNLV, it was incredible. By the way, like again, total sidebar, but UNLV has been the worst college football, in my opinion, probably the worst college football program, maybe in the history of Division I college football. Like legit 2 bowl games, like insanity how bad. Like we would here in Vegas, if you get 4 wins, you're like, we made progress. Like it's terrible. Like UNLV basketball has been pretty decent, but
I don't know, man. UMass. I knew UMass was bad.
Oh my God, no.
2 bowl games since 1879.
UNLV lost to Howard. So, and this was like last year or 2 years ago, right before the new coach. It was embarrassing, like horrible, worst upset, like not bad. So this guy, Odom takes over. What is from Arkansas? I think maybe, or somewhere in the SEC, and he comes in and dude just does it. And UNLV has now they play defense, which they've never done. And I went to the game last weekend. So again, most college places have the big house is the big house, right? The horseshoe is the horseshoe. Like you're getting 100,000 in there. But imagine playing in a college player playing in an NFL stadium that's packed, the whole bottom bowl. Like they close off the top bowl. But when the Raiders have a home game the day after, they don't cover it. Usually they cover it because you're still seating like 40,000 or whatever. UNLV would normally fill up like maybe 1,300 sometimes when they're really bad. And now they're not. So that's pretty cool. So that's the cool stuff with sports is that it covers it up. And that's a bet, though. If you're going to bet this weekend, I would say bet UNLV Friday night, whatever it is. What are they plus? Are they plus with Syracuse? I think it's Syracuse. They play Syracuse, so they're playing
Carrier Dome, or what's it called? Is it in Syracuse?
let us see. That might be a good bet, actually. But I'm going to bet the Bears. I think Bears are going to roll
-3.5.
Panthers. Yeah,
Take him alt line -9.5. Double digit win.
nice.
Let's hope we're not jinxing the Bears now. The good old Pinwheels and Ivy
Sorry about
jinx.
Did it?
Let's hope that doesn't happen. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted on more Cubs talk here. I guess
-6.5. There you go.
All right, there you go.
Hmm.
Oh man, it's a lot. Okay, yeah.
Watch that go offense.
UNLV Bears parlay.
Done. Doing it right now. Hold up.
Ooh,
I'm going to do 100. Oh, I got to get it. Hold on. And then
gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Yeah. So when you do this, but yeah, let's do that. That was I was trying to figure out my big week. I'm gonna set it and forget it for the weekend. So,
There you go.
All right. So let me go NFL. Oh, shit,
Maybe a
myself.
couple Caleb Williams props.
All right. There we go.
There it is. It's in. Bet it, everybody.
Plus
Send us the
264.
tickets.
I got plus 264. So
There it is.
we'll take it.
Better bet than my 2024 Cubs winning the NL Central wager. I guess we'll leave it there with that disappointment. Hopefully things work out a lot better for Kevin this weekend. But for Kevin, I'm Aldo. Again, check out Mitch every Wednesday right at noon, Pinwheels pregame for his Sox talk. Check it out on YouTube, on Spotify. We'll start posting all our videos there as well for podcast. For Kevin, I'm Aldo. Have a good week, everybody. Till next time. See you.